would you like to improve your health and keep your family safe? You're listening to the Healthy Home Hacks podcast, where we firmly believe enjoying optimal health shouldn't be a luxury. Healthy Home Authorities and husband and wife team Ron and Lisa will help you create a home environment that will level up your health. It's time to hear from the experts. Listen in on honest conversations and gain the best tips and advice. If you're ready to dive in and improve your well-being and increase your energy, you're in the right place. All right, here are your hosts, bowel biologists, authors, media darlings, vicarious vegans, and avocado aficionados, Ron and Lisa Barris.
Are you experiencing embarrassing gas, bloating, constipation, or other digestive woes? Well, you're not alone. Did you know 70% of Americans are dealing with digestive issues right now? And guys, it's getting worse. Inflammatory bowel diseases have jumped 50% in just 2 decades. Something isn't right. The gut-brain connection alone affects 1 in 5 adults. How would you like to improve digestive wellness and overall gut health in just 12 weeks? Grab our must-have resources for busy people. Head over to ronandlisa.info/gut. That's ronandlisa.info/gut. You're welcome.
Welcome to the Healthy Home Hacks Show.
We're Ron and Lisa, the Healthy Home Dream Team, helping you create a cleaner, lower toxin lifestyle for you and your family.
Because the truth is, our bodies were never designed for the modern world we're living in today. Our diet, lifestyle, and environment are major contributors to the rise in chronic disease.
And the statistics are alarming. 1 in 2 Americans now suffers from chronic disease, and 1 in 4 has multiple chronic conditions. We've normalized feeling tired, inflamed, stressed, and sick, but it's not normal.
If we want real health, we need to look beyond symptom-based medicine and start addressing root causes. This episode may challenge what you think you know about beauty, wellness, and modern healthcare.
Today, we're talking about some of the most controversial and highly requested wellness topics out there right now. The hidden dangers of aesthetic fillers, what women absolutely need to know before getting breast implants, and why parasite cleanses are suddenly everywhere on social media, plus what you must know before trying one yourself.
So grab your coffee, your green juice, or your favorite non-toxic cleaner.
And welcome to Healthy Home Hacks.
Our guest, Daniel Gonzalez, is a functional medicine expert and the lead clinical director at drdaniel.com. He works with thousands of people across North America to achieve health without a prescription.
Dr. Daniel received his doctorate of chiropractic and has certifications in functional medicine, functional diagnostic nutrition, and so much more. With over 20 years of experience, Dr. Daniel has worked with the deathly ill and utterly hopeless who were desperate for change.
These were people looking for answers in a confused world. Eventually, his patients found that the power to overcome their health issues has been rooted within them the whole time. Welcome to the show, Dr. Daniel. Yay!
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that.
So glad to have you here.
I love my
I'm
buzzer.
happy to be here.
Welcome. We're so excited to have you. I met Dr. Daniel online and his information is amazing. And so we're just thrilled that we connected and we have him with us today. You guys are going to love this show. So Dr. Daniel, I want to get right into something that I did see on one of your posts, which is the Chemical Diagnostic Matrix. Can you explain what that is?
Sure. There's so much to unpack with it. I'm not sure how far back we can go I like to talk a lot about baselines, first of all. And when I say baseline, it's really knowing where we're starting from. So if we're talking about diagnostics, where somebody falls into the place of wanting to be assessed, almost no one these days, nobody comes in a blank slate, right? Everybody's just layered, unfortunately.
No one comes in perfectly healthy.
Right.
Parasite, mold free.
And so when we talk about a diagnostic matrix, literally, where do you begin? Right. Well, first we have to understand that the kind of stereotypical route is somebody goes to their doctor for their annual exam. They're going to get like a basic blood chemistry panel. Those results will come back for the most part, clean unless they have disease, and they're going to be told that, right? And we all hear it. You've heard it where it's like, hey, everything looks normal, you're good. And they kind of send you on your way.
And you're like experiencing all these horrible symptoms, and they're telling,
Right.
I mean,
That's the crazy thing about it is that the patient knows they're not well. The doctor, we shouldn't judge anybody, but you can just clearly see across from you that the person's not healthy. But yet we just continue with this narrative that things are fine. There's a lot of problems with the diagnostic workup. We look at blood pressure as a single marker, right? One measurement. Go get your blood pressure checked. It should be looked at over time. We get our blood chemistry done again once a year. It should be looked at over time. The same
over
is
time,
true.
what do you mean, like every few months, or what's the protocol?
Well, it depends on how deep you want to go. And for each of these, like I like looking at blood if I'm really trying to work on someone and helping them to optimize their health. I like to look at it every 6 to 8 weeks when I first start. And then it starts to track out from there as we start to get things where they need to be. I like to look at blood like the weather, where if I gave you 2 or 3 days out of the year and asked you to tell me what the weather's going to be like next month, you're going to have a crappy forecast.
right. That's a great analogy.
Yeah, but if I gave you months or years of data, you're going to have a better understanding of what's happening. And like blood pressure, I'll ask patients to track their blood pressure for 2 weeks consistently, morning and afternoon, 2 weeks every few months, just to check in and see where they are. That is a much better representation of your blood pressure on that topic than the one time you go into the doctor and look at it.
So you might be having a stressful day or just got out of traffic on the 405. We live in California.
Right.
Anyone who lives here knows that. Yeah. Will insurance cover more than one of those tests a year?
Yep.
Oh, they will. Okay.
It depends on your policy. So there's a lot to unpack with insurance, right? So it depends on your policy. It depends on how it's coded. So if the doctor knows how to code properly. Even if you don't have insurance, though, and this is what a lot of people don't realize, is paying out of pocket, paying privately for labs that you're tracking over time. The initial panel might be somewhere around $300, $400 out of pocket, which, by the way, that could be a comprehensive panel. The follow-up panels, you're looking at anywhere between $80 to $120. So again, initially, okay, you're getting into it, and there's going to be a little bit of a higher cost. But as you start to accumulate that data, you can start to back off from what you're ultimately testing to get more specific on the things that you're really wanting to work on. And then, of course, long term, you're either going to pay to be well or pay to be sick, right? Or pay whenever you get sick. So that's how you have to look at it.
Pay the farmer now or pay the doctor later.
That's how it goes, exactly. And with the matrix, we talk about a diagnostic matrix. I like to start, there's 4 levels. I like to start level 1, it's just self-health tracking. So again, when I speak about baseline, it's do you know yourself? Most people don't know themselves very well simply because they're not paying attention. And so self-health tracking would be just like I described. You can go get a blood pressure monitor on your own. We live in a time where you can have easy access to CGMs, continuous glucose monitors, right? You can track your blood sugar. You can go get a glucose monitor at CVS. There's bowel movement patterns, there's sleep patterns, there's exercise patterns, your nutrition. There's a lot of these things that we can now track on our own, right? And just have a baseline and just try to map that with how we feel. So I think that that's a very important starting point when we talk about diagnosis. I think somebody coming in equipped with that data is much more meaningful than obviously somebody that doesn't have that, right? So there's a whole lot that I could do with that before we even start care. The next layer if we talk about a diagnostic matrix is going to be intake. And unfortunately, a lot of times that gets missed. A lot of doctors, my mother told me, this was 2 weeks ago, she said she went to her doctor, she filled all this information out, met with the doctor. Doctor never even covered any of it. And a lot of the things that he asked her is what she already gave to him. So he didn't even review it. And the reality is there's so much data from that you can extract that, again, helps you to understand where somebody is in terms of their health.
Why isn't your mother going to you? Is my biggest
Right.
Well, she had, and she's great. She's amazing. She's super healthy, but she did, and she recovered from it, but she had breast cancer last year. And so this was, of course, some follow-ups that she was doing, right? That she kind of got put into that. So yeah, that's why, but good call.
Well, my grandma, God bless her. She's in good hands with you, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yes, no, she's amazing. She's healthy otherwise.
It's interesting you say that because you're a functional doctor, and it's like the Western medical doctors who have to just take insurance only are so rushed, right? They don't get the time with the patients, is what I've heard, that they really don't have the manpower to do all that deep diving. And yeah, you're getting low level care with these insurance companies that you're paying so much for, whereas paying out of pocket, you can actually go to the doctors like yourself that do take the time and dig deep, because it's a night and day the way they operate.
It's a different setup for sure. I like to look at medicine. I mean, obviously, I have a lot of colleagues, a lot of friends, really good friends that are conventional doctors, and they're amazing. They save lives, right? So if you crack your head open, if you stroke out, have a heart attack, absolutely. We have the best doctors to be able to save your life. But unfortunately, for everything else, I'm just going to say they suck. They're just not very good at building health. They're really good at saving your life, and they're really good at the urgent care matters. And that's where medicine, in my opinion, has its place, is where if you're that far gone, thank God we have access to all these amazing doctors that can patch you up to keep you going. After that, the rebuilding and the building up of your health, that's where we have access to all these other forms of medicine that unfortunately a lot of people don't take advantage of, right? But they're there. And it's not just functional medicine, it's one of those, right? But there's a lot of different types of medicine that we have access to work on building up health rather than, again, the acute care management of it.
And we've interviewed quite a few doctors on the show, and they've all pretty much told us they barely, if even, got one semester of nutrition in med school. So
it's insane.
Then you look at like Ron and I have been studying toxins, environmental toxins, household toxins for 20 years. That's not anything they ever cover in med school. So a lot of people, they've got that white lab coat. They're like a god and they know everything and don't really realize a lot of these people either weren't educated in med school on the things or just stopped their education, right? They're not continuing. So they're kind of leveled off with what they learned that's really outdated because we have so many chemicals in the environment today and they build daily.
I mean, that's when I'm sure you all are familiar with the Environmental Working Group, right? They had a landmark study. This the year that I graduated, actually, 2005. What is it? The 287 industrial chemicals and pollutants were detected in umbilical cord blood.
The body burden study, yes.
And what's insane about that is that these were babies that before they took their first breath, before they ate their first meal, before they could touch their mother, made contact, they already had all these chemicals that were loaded. It's 180. Some of them were known to cause cancer in humans, and half of them, I think over half of the chemicals studied were toxic to the brain and nervous system. There was follow-up studies, though. So that was 2005, and then in 2009, I think there was a follow-up study. They found, again, it was like 230 some chemicals in the cord blood of infants. They also detected BPA at that time. That was the first time. And then 2021, they detected microplastics in placenta of humans for the first time. And then that leads to today, where we are in 2026. Now, 20 years later, 100% of us, like it's in the US at least, this is what we now know, is that 100% of us have microplastics, right? Whether it's our brain or our heart, kidneys.
Yeah, teaspoon, I think they said a teaspoon, equivalent to a teaspoon full of microplastics in your brain, the average person, and the average person is ingesting 12 plastic shopping bags worth of plastic a year. So to your point, when a baby's coming in already polluted and then now lives in a more plastic world, because we all grew up, there wasn't that much plastic. It was just Tupperware. And now it's like everything is plastic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so all these chemicals, whether it's plastics, phthalates, BPA, there's over 80,000 chemicals that are approved for commercial use in the US, and only a handful, I think it's only 1,000 that have been studied.
Yeah, I think it's even less than that. Yeah.
So what we're talking about these are the things that we know of, right? So I'm always talking about vulnerabilities, the blind spots. Somebody could come to me and they could be the picture of health just from looking at them. I look good and I feel good. I always wonder, what are your vulnerabilities and your blind spots? This happened with COVID, right? When you heard so many people that were just dropping, and it's like, well, and they would say, oh, well, they were so healthy. I mean, were they?
Were they?
Honestly, if you
right.
just
That's
drop,
such a great point. Yeah.
And
this
and
happened
that's the
to
problem.
me. Yeah, this happened to me. And not to digress, we're going to get into parasites, listeners. But I did an aggressive parasite cleanse. I started off, and my motto was "No worm left behind." I wasn't going to stop until I was doing these fulvic acid foot soaks, so I could see the parasites coming out of my feet I could see them in the foot bath, not coming out, but in the foot bath. And so that was like, whoa, shocking, eye-opening. riveting, upsetting, emotional, all of those things, because I thought I was a perfect bill of health. Just like you said, my labs came back perfect. But I was noticing a lot of fatigue and bloating and things that just weren't making sense. And so this parasite cleanse literally opened a can of worms to, oh my God, I wouldn't get into it later, but it wreaked so much havoc on my system and I didn't know what was going on. It actually made things worse. And you went through a really good explanation in our consult, which I'm going to tell you guys about. Dr. Daniel offers a free consult that if you're struggling, you have to do this because he is so intelligent with this stuff. You told me things that nobody's ever told me. I went to so many doctors trying to figure out what was causing this, and they just look at you like, I don't know, I guess stop parasite cleansing. But that it was too late. I had already opened up all of these underlying things that you're talking about. So we can go back to that
For sure.
later.
We're still finishing the chemical diagnostic matrix. I think we're
Well,
like,
gosh,
with the intake with your mom, right? Intake was the step 2, then 3.
Yeah. No, so we get to, you first have your kind of self-health tracking. And then I would say there's a comprehensive intake that's important. And I bring this up because right now we have the rise of direct-to-consumer labs, which I think are great, like Function Health, Superpower. There's a lot of kind of tracking, which I love, open access to things, but there's context that could also be missing there, that the interpretation part of it. And so through a proper intake, really what happens is I've got this functional assessment form that I'll have patients complete. And these are just a bunch of different questions. You know your body better than anybody, or you're your best doctor. You just may not think to say something to a doctor, which is important because that can be mapped back to a system. And so part of that intake, extremely important. There's just a bunch of different questions that, again, it's like asking you about your body, right? Just different things, certain tastes, certain smells, what you notice in the bathroom, things like that are all very, very important because this all puts together the potential of what systems are abnormal before, again, we even do any kind of testing. And so you map all that together. That then leads to the first, what I would call objective assessment, which would be a functional blood chemistry panel that, again, most people have not had. Like everybody gets blood chemistry done, and that's just looking at those markers as this is higher, this is low. And then again, you're told normal. Functional blood chemistry analysis is where you're looking at patterns of how these things fit together. And this is where a lot of things can get missed. And it's very common for a patient to tell me, oh, I went to my doctor, they did all this testing. Yes, they said I was normal. And then when I study those labs, it's like right there, it's showing you that there's the problem that they've been experiencing just because it was missed, because they were only looking at single values by themselves and not really paying attention to patterns of how our body all works together. So that's an important part of the picture there. From your functional blood chemistry analysis, combined with, again, how you map all the symptoms together and all that, now you've got arrows pointing into a certain direction that tells you where your systems are dysfunctional and what needs to be worked on. And that leads to intervention of whether that's diet or lifestyle, supplements, sometimes medication, just depends on the person. And so that's kind of the first steps for what you want to talk about, or what I think you want to talk about with toxins or cosmetic toxins or environmental toxins, parasites included. I think a very important step before we do any kind of detoxification protocol, whether we're talking about parasites or chemicals, is determine not just whether you have it, right? Everybody always wants to know, do I have heavy metals? Do I have plastics or glyphosate in my body? Like that, chances are you do. What matters is how is it affecting your body? Is your immune system reacting to it? And I think that's a very important question that always gets missed or not even thought of. Like parasites, for example, and a lot of people don't realize this, parasites are a problem. They can cause issues. But there's also plenty of research that has shown that parasites can exist within our body and it's not doing anything. It's not causing any kind of immune response. There's no activity. It's not disturbing your system. They're just there. They're dormant. And I'm guilty of this, by the way, years ago when I didn't know any better. You can try to treat that if you identify it, and you can actually cause problems. And so very important to again, have a baseline of where this person is and what is really throwing their systems off. So immune reactivity and assessing whether or not the chemical toxin in question is causing a problem is very important. Again, not just seeing if it's there.
But isn't it true, though, if there's parasites present, even though they're not causing an inflammation or some sort of response in the body, that they might cause a problem later and you probably still should remove them?
It's possible, right? And here's where it's so complex. Yeah, that's so true. And we're all so different, and we all come from different parts of the world, different walks of life. We have different physiologies, different layers of. Are you familiar with the exposome? Is that a term you've ever
Yeah.
heard?
Exosome?
Exposome.
Oh, no.
So exposome is basically the way
I'm familiar with X-Men. X-Men document.
Yeah, I love it. Well, okay, exposome is the totality environmental, so external environment inputs, what I choose to put into my body through food or supplements or medications, whatever that is, and then how all of that all together is affecting my being. So this is the way that scientists try to understand, they call it the exposome, the way that we try to understand inputs into a human and then the output, the whatever it can cause. And what it turns out is very complex, right? Let's say something like genetics, parasites. Some people naturally have an ability to detox just really well. Other people do not. And so I can't take two people, you both have a certain parasite, the same parasite, and the treatment isn't necessarily going to be the same because they have different systems of operation. And again, most doctors are not going to that depth, right? It's just, oh, you've got this. Okay. It's like antibiotics. Oh, you've got this bug. Here you go. Take this medicine. And that's just standard treatment. It doesn't necessarily apply to everybody, right? It just depends on what's going on. And that's why you have to map the different systems of our body. What's your kidney doing? What's your blood sugar regulation look like? What does your inflammation status look like? Your immune markers. Understanding all that is what allows you to then effectively treat that individual in the best way. And that's all different.
Are your blood tests, do you start with a typical, what is it called, a CBC or whatever? Do you do that, or is your blood test completely different?
So I have what I'll call a baseline panel, which I can almost guarantee that everybody I'm going to run. Again, when I work with somebody, I do go through all the intake process, look at whatever data they have, and then that leads me to what tests I'm going to put together.
Okay, makes sense. See, that's great, because normally I think doctors do it the opposite, right? Like you said.
I don't get it. Yeah, I mean,
we're going to do the blood test first before we know anything about you. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. And I don't want to, every doctor can practice how they want, but there's even functional doctors where it's like they're going to order all these tests. It's like they're going to do microbiome study and heavy metal studies and I mean, all kinds, right? You can end up with like $8,000 worth of tests.
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
Really?
So expensive. Yeah.
do you need all that?
And they act like it's no big deal. At least for me, I had to do some really expensive GI mapping tests, stool tests, which basically showed nothing anyway. They all came back normal. And yeah, these tests, I get the bill and I'm like, oh my God, this thing's almost $600. The doctor's prescribing like, oh yeah, no, yeah, you want that? Boom, you want that, after you've already spent thousands and thousands on whatever. So always
it can be done a better
guys,
way.
ask your doctor how much his lab is when they're ordering you specialty labs, because they don't tell you, and you get the kit maybe at your home and you send it off and then you get this bill that you did not know was coming.
It happens so much, and we actually, our company, again, I can't speak for every practice out there, but you will know exactly what the test is going to cost for all functional tests that are not covered by insurance. Sometimes insurance will cover things, and if they don't, my company makes no money off testing. So literally whatever the lab charges us, we just pass that on to our patient. And right, so it's like, this is what we're testing, why we're testing, and then you make the call on whether you want to proceed. I like to talk about, I always say blood, guts, and hormones. Meaning you start with blood, right? That's your foundation. And again, I have a baseline panel, CBC, metabolic panel, and some nutrient markers, inflammation markers. So it's more extensive than your typical panel that you get at a GP. But then there's additional markers that I'll order, again, through blood at a traditional lab, Quest, LabCorp, all that, depending on what I've identified from what you've shared. And that just, again, that can be, I mean, there's so many different markers out there, so many different tests. But blood first, that data comes back, study it, see what's going on. Are there low-hanging fruits? Are there fundamental foundational things that we can work on improving? Again, detox. Before I put you on a detox, are you able to detox? Do you have all the cofactors and the requirements needed? If I do have you detox, do you have everything you need? And all that can be assessed through blood.
And open. Yeah, that's kind of what happened to me. I had to go backwards and start doing things in reverse. It was a nightmare. Honestly, what I went through was an absolute nightmare. I haven't really talked about it on the show yet, but I was over a year of pretty much being in chronic pain from parasite cleansing. And the parasite cleansing, it's very buttoned up on social media. Boop, take the cleanse and you'll be good. And one and done. And it's what's the word? It's just not true. Like what you're talking about, there's so much more to it. There's so much more that needs to be discussed before you go embarking on a lot of these things.
Did you do multiple rounds or was it a big, long round of taking antiparasitics?
I did multiple rounds. So it was supposed to be 30 days. Then I was like, oh, I'm seeing these parasites and my foot soaked. So I'm going to continue. So then I did 30, then I did 60, then I did 90, then I did 120. And the problems really started rearing their ugly head around the 90 to 120 day mark. I was fine the first few, and then everything started going haywire. My body just went into complete overload. I would tremor at night. My whole body would be shaking because it was just obviously having such a hard time processing. And
Did you have any blood done in between? I'm just curious.
Well, ironically, I had 3 parasite tests and they all come back negative. I mean, while I can physically see, I have all the pictures and videos. I can see the parasites and they're like, no, you have none. I did an organic acids test that came back negative. Everything was coming back like, there's nothing wrong with you. So I was in that cycle that you're talking about where I just felt so hopeless. Ron knows I'd be bawling my eyes out. I don't know what to do. I've spent so much money and I'm not getting answers. And I'm around the corner a bit, but I would love to work with you because I don't think I'm totally out of the woods yet.
It's like you go to town getting rid of stuff, right? So you're putting the fire out, killing things off, and then you've got to rebuild your body, right? So it's like working out. You go work out, you have a hard workout, and you're going to have to recover. So that way you can then get back at it. And that's really the process there. And again, like I said, everybody's so different. You have different systems that need to be monitored in order to prevent that kind of die-off Herxheimer type symptoms that people experience. It is good. I mean, if they're causing a burden, obviously on one side, it's good for you to eliminate them, but it can be done to where you have a soft landing and you're not just like crashing.
Like Ron, I mean, good example of everybody's different because Ron had nothing weird happen and he was taking the same doses as me. Absolutely no reactions like me.
He was a little different. Well, I would feel fatigued or something every once in a while, but not like you, of course. Yeah. So I do feel blessed. However, I do feel like from that experience, I was better for it because Lisa's always been kind of canary in the coal mine for us that way.
Yeah, so, I'm the sensitive one. And I know you know this, Dr. Daniel, some patients that they're going to react to everything like right away, right? Yep. I mean, that's me. So I'll notice something's toxic before Ron does.
I do start to think, though, it's like when that happens, when I have somebody that is sensitive, again, you have to think about why is this individual lost resilience or why are they so vulnerable? Is there something that can be done to increase that resilience? Just like if you have no endurance, but you don't ever exercise it or practice that, well, then that's why. So then we can work on it. But there's obviously some people that just do better naturally, have really good endurance without training. So that's where we all have different buckets, but those are things that can be evaluated. Through blood.
We're vegan, we eat only organic. We obviously live in a completely non-toxic environment, including EMFs and all of that. So you look at me who is struggling with that, and then you can see a really toxic person who's eating fast food and not doing any of that. And like you said, has this like strong stamina and resilience. So it just goes to show our bodies are just so complex, right?
We're all so different. And then again, maybe on the outside they look well, but
yeah, I know that fast food's going to catch up with you.
They're so misleading.
Yeah.
If you ask anyone, any of your participants or people you talk to is like, how do you know whether you're healthy? What do you think the most common answer is going to be? Like if what do you think?
Energy. I would say energy. If you have a lot of energy.
Okay, that's a good one. That's functional. What do you think, Ron? What did you think right away?
Well, what I guess they look fine. Right.
Okay. They don't get a cold, maybe? They don't get colds?
Yeah. So the number one, because again, I do this everywhere. I do give a lot of public talks and things like that. But yes, if you ask, and for most of the time, it's to say, well, do I look good? Do they look good? Do I feel good? So we largely base our health on how we look or feel, not how we're functioning. Energy, I would consider to be part of functions. Okay, that's a little bit better. Like how much can you take? How much can you? It's like if somebody. And it's great. Obviously, we should be practicing healthy lifestyle, eating organic food when you can, exercising as much as you can, shopping at all the right places. But if you go and you eat I'm just going to say, if you have to eat at a gas station and that throws you under for several days because you went a little bit off of your normal, there's no resilience there.
You should be able to bounce back from that. Right.
And I would think that somebody that's doing all the right things, you should be so strong, right? You should be able to handle a whole lot to carry load. And that's important. That's often missed when we're doing health assessments is you don't think about what I call adaptive capacity, your ability to adapt, the capacity to adapt in a situation. Can you be in the heat and still function? Can you be in the cold and still function? Can you go without food and still function? Can you eat gluten?
Ron failed that test.
I'm not as resilient there.
Ron's not resilient in that part.
This is
But
so
these
funny.
are the things that that I like to bring up. It's because that's what it is. How are you going to survive?
That's so important. I love that you said that, because also people getting so used to feeling crappy. So when you ask someone how do they feel, and they'll tell you fine, they're including the headache, the bloating, the fatigue,
Right.
insomnia, because that's their normal, and they don't even know what it's like to feel amazing, right?
That's so sad. Yeah, it's sad
So
that
sad.
That is
Yeah.
sad.
I think
Hey,
that's a lot of people. Would you agree? What percentage of people do you think are in that bubble?
Gosh, every day I see people in my office in person 3 days a week, and I work virtually with people all over the country. But it's funny that you say it, because I mean it's a big number. I mean, eight out of 10 conversations and I'll call people out. I will say, okay, how are we doing? Say, I'm okay, I'm doing it. It's like, no, you're not. Don't tell me that. Be real with me, right? Like I'm here to help you, and let's figure some stuff out.
People get embarrassed about it, or they just don't know, or
it's like first of all, and Ron, it's not to say anything to you, right? But it's like men have a big problem with admitting their health issues. They don't want to go to doctors. They don't want to be proactive about
Dr.
anything.
Daniel, I'm fine. I am fine. Okay.
but he can't not eat food.
So the number is higher, I'm going to say, in men that say I'm good when they're not. When they're lonely, they're broken, they don't feel good.
Oh,
it's just
true.
It is very sad.
Okay, men listening, if you're having problems, don't do that. We eventually lost my dad, which started from that very thing. He refused to go to the doctor, and thought he was fine. He's a tough guy. And it led to all these that one decision led to so many health problems that ended up taking his life. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I think this is a shout out to the men listening. Please, please, please take care of yourself. It's not selfish. It is not, I mean, you'll spend money on things that you love. You should love your body, and your health should be your number one priority. So just shift that.
So, Dr. Daniel, I want to recognize how multifaceted and how knowledgeable we are about all sorts of topics.
I know.
And we're going to view that. We can go on in so many different directions, right? But as we do that, I wanted to, it's almost like speed dating, right? I want to give a little taste of all the different knowledge nuggets you have, right? So and we're going to pivot just a little bit. We're going to go to, what is the industrialization of beauty today?
Gosh. Okay. Well, yeah, this is a big one, because everything we've talked about kind of leading up to this, the burden that we start off with before we're even born, the accumulation, right? It's like it's all layered. As you grow up, all the antibiotics you were given, the vaccinations, the medications, the food, the plastics, all this stuff is just kind of layered and caked on, but we're fine, right? And then
they
you get
care about
into,
us, Dr. Daniel. The manufacturers care.
So my beef with, and I've recently, and I think this is maybe how you found me, right? Because recently I started posting about implants of different types, breast implants mainly, a cosmetic burden, all the things that we can put on ourselves and that we're exposed to. And when we talk about, I mean, if food is a big problem, right? And that's a huge exposure of chemicals, just food by itself. But then, and that's more regulated. Then you get into the cosmetic and beauty industry. It's like the Wild West. And the more that I've dug into this, it's like it's already scary with the things that we can be exposed to, and everybody's okay with it, at least the companies that are distributing these things. And then you get into the beauty industry, it's just 10x with the exposure to things that are just dangerous. Like the FDA does not pre-approve cosmetic ingredients, so it's a free-for-all.
Yeah, manufacturers are the ones responsible for the safety data. That's right.
And a lot of times it ends up being, it's like the actual consumers, that's the experiment, right? So it's not until you see a signal where something is bad, and that's assuming that enough people are going to say something about it and make the connection that it's that. So that's an issue. We know that a lot of like the European Union's banned over 1,000 cosmetic.
10,000.
Okay, yeah, it's a lot, right? It's a big, thousands, but they've banned. The U.S. is like 10 or 11.
I know. We make different, or not we, but some of these manufacturers will make healthy brands for the UK and European Union, and then the toxic brand for the U.S. And that happens with the food too. Like the ketchup's totally different, and
it's shocking. It's scary. I mean, the things that are allowed, like I learned recently, the word fragrance, that can have up to 4,000 chemicals within just that one word, right? So you can look, and it can maybe have 5 things on the label, but fragrance is on there that's 4,000, up to 4,000 chemicals that it could be loaded with. The average woman, 12 personal care products. What's even scarier, and the reason why I started looking into this, I've got daughters, and my youngest teenage girl, 17 on average. These are the products daily.
Yes.
And it's not linear, right? So when you think of load, putting something in your body, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, the way that it works in our body. It's multiplied. So what I like to say, it's geometric. So it's 1 + 1 could be 10 or 20 because of all the different proteins and factors that it's influencing our body and the combination of those things. So all those 17 products being placed on average on a teenage girl, what are the effects of that?
Yeah, and that
Nobody
17
knows.
products having a couple hundred ingredients, right? So the products is just one, but then the ingredients is hundreds. Yeah. Yep.
And even if some of those were studied in single fashion, even if they were studied, that's only looking at that dosage of that one, not the combinations. Like you almost never are going to have that where that's looked at. And so, yeah, it's a big problem. I mean,
And the girls are going into puberty earlier. They're developing breasts earlier because of all these endocrine disrupting chemicals that you talked about, parabens, phthalates, BPA, and they're legal. They're completely legal. So consumers, unless they're educated, they don't know. They go to Sephora and they think, oh, this is a pretty package and it looks like a nice color and I'll just put it on. And there's no mention of lead or heavy metals in the makeup or some of these plastics or these preservatives. And so, yeah, it's getting worse. It's a big problem. Yeah.
I think it's is it makeup or I'm not makeup, lipstick. Like when you talk about heavy metals, that's a massive one.
They found lead in a lot of lipsticks that they tested,
Yes.
name brands, even though lead's it's insane, over the legal limit. Yeah, way over the legal limit. Because like you said, it's the fox guarding the hen house. And things don't get removed, like you said, until there's enough cancer cases and enough people speaking up. And that gets into the breast implants that we're going to talk about because is it Allergan? Is that how you say the company Allergan? They had that textured breast implant that was removed after so many women got cancer. After the women got cancer.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I'm so surprised at the how irritated the doctors. That obviously, I mean, I don't have any kind of financial gain from speaking about these things, but I was shocked at the number of beauticians, salon owners, the messages that I was getting. It's the kind of almost like hate.
Really?
From sharing this stuff, and then of course plastic surgeons, doctors. It's like, wow. And I love having conversations. It's like, look, I'm not saying don't do this. I'm saying people need to be aware and talk about it. And also, like, how can we do it better? I think you have to have these conversations so that way you can then get better, right? If we're going to have these things, if we're going to have makeup, or how do we do it better? And that's what I'm always thinking about. And even if it's going to be, I don't know how you do breast implants better, quite honestly, just putting anything in our body that doesn't belong there. But if it's possible, can we at least have that conversation and be open to it?
Are there any tips and warnings you can give to our women listeners regarding breast implants?
I think the most important, because I'll hear this a lot, is that dismantling this idea that there's a difference between saline or silicone. Because a lot of women will say that, it's like, oh, I've got this, or I've got that. No, gel bleed happens regardless of the shell, right? So you have the shell of the implant, and then what's inside of it is different things. But the shell of it, it has siloxane, which is going to get released. That's going to bleed no matter what. And 100% of implants, there's a certain amount of gel bleed that's being leaked.
Gel meaning the packet, that housing, you're saying? So the housing.
So think of the layer, the skin with the pocket.
I always wondered, what is it plastic or is it?
It's a polyurethane, so siloxane, that's what it's called, medical grade silicone. I think PDMS is the kind of abbreviation for it, but it's the shell.
The shell.
It's the shell. And then the shell again can have that. There's some that it's filled with silicone gel, some that is filled with saline. There's the texture, which I think that has ether. There's silicone, and then there's something called cohesive silicone. There's these different products. Regardless, they all have this bleed, this gel bleed from the shell, and that's coming out. And so again, it's another thing is a lot of women they'll say, oh, I get it monitored through mammograms. That's not a good way to do it. There's very specific MRI exams that have to be done. And usually what I would say is you go to a plastic surgeon who knows better on how to get it properly monitored. That's another thing is that if you don't have them yet and you want to get them fine, I support you. I would want to know what your baseline is before going into it. So at least you have a pre and post.
Yeah.
But after you get them, know that there's a cost associated. It's not just the cost of getting it, but the monitoring that's going to come along with it if you truly want to make sure that you're staying well. And that includes blood chemistry monitoring for autoimmune markers and inflammation markers at certain periods. It includes your imaging monitoring. So there's a cost there that a lot of times is not on the table or not brought up, but you should be thinking about that if you want to do this.
And the cost of replacement, because they have to be replaced every.
If it does cause issues, right? And a lot of the people that get replacements are the patients that are sick. Unfortunately, it's like and that's happening, and that's a growing thing. And forever, women were gaslit. Like, no, that's not it. That's not it. Now it's an acknowledged, recognized condition.
Yeah, breast implant for listeners. Breast implant illness is what it's called. It's the medical industry finally acknowledges that. Correct? They don't think that's like woo woo.
More. It's almost like leaky gut or gluten sensitivity. It's like there's still doctors to this day that are like, nope, doesn't exist. And it's okay. And the same thing, but that's why I was shocked really with the doctors that were challenging me and the information I was sharing about breast implants. And again, I was just providing research that's been published. There's nothing crazy that I'm saying. I'm not making things up. It's just what already exists. And for them to be challenging that, it just seems...
You're challenging their bottom line, Dr. Daniel.
Well, and it's the conversation is that I'm trying to have with them is also, I'm not telling you not to do it, still do it, do it better.
Yeah, do it informed.
And set it up to where you're going to see your patients and monitor them so you can make sure they're not developing this. What's
before
wrong?
It gets bad. Yeah, because
if anything, maybe that generates more income for you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's right. Well, we did interview a doctor who is a plastic surgeon who is very outspoken about it and educates his patients. And I thought that was really great and rare, which is why we had him on, because I was like, good, you can be a good plastic surgeon. You can tell patients, hey, this is a risk. Are you still okay with it? Because we're really talking about informed consent at the root of everything, which brings me into fillers, because fillers are just exploding right now. Botox, filler, all of these aesthetic injections. And there's no informed consent. There is none. Used to get Botox. Listeners know that I've talked openly about it, and I have not in years and years now. And I talked to this one really well-known doctor, and she said, why aren't you doing Botox? You need it. They'll tell you you need it. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, because I know that it can migrate, and it's a fear. And I didn't say fear. I just don't want it to migrate. And she goes, no, it doesn't. And I'm like, there's a black box warning stating that it can migrate, and you're looking me in the eye and gaslighting me and telling me that it doesn't. And so that's the kind of thing that women go through. There
are MRI studies, three-dimensional imaging studies that have been done that have shown migration of filler, small amounts too, not large amounts from the face. Yeah, they've shown that like in through the lymph nodes. So I know there's
the filler. Just the filler. Regardless.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's two studies I know that have done imaging studies looking at the migration pattern. There's a lot of basic science mechanism, and this is the way research goes, is that you have to first show that there's a signal, right? And so basic science is meant to, is there a signal? Is there potential for harm? And there are basic science studies that have shown that filler moves around, that filler causes an immune reaction, like immune cells respond negatively, and it could even increase the risk of developing autoimmunity, hitting the lymphatics, which that's a whole risk category in itself on what that can do with like detoxification pathways and all that. But there's good studies that show the basic science part of it. What's fascinating to me about filler and Botox, it's like the FDA approval was, I think, 120 days. Like,
oh, really?
It was like, because it kills me when they're like, doctors will say millions of patients have gotten it. We've been doing it for X amount of years. Then they say that's the long-term study. Yes and no. First, again, the FDA approval was just a few days, again, 120 some days, I think that's what it was, to get approval. And then it's post-market, right? So like after the fact, it's just like you can start doing it, and if there's a problem. Now, there's clearly people that have been injured, that have issues from single injection and then from repeated. What I was shocked to find out is that there is no long-term study that's been done on low-dose cosmetic Botox over time. So 10 years, 15 years, meaning nobody's tracking, nobody's looking to see what kind of effects it has, even though the basic science shows that there are problems that develop from it, or they can. And again, I'm not saying to women out there, don't get your Botox. Don't. What I'm saying is that we don't know. We don't have the data, and you should be at least aware of some of the symptoms that can show up, so that way you know whether you're part of that statistic or not, right? So just
And like
becoming
you
aware.
said, because of the gaslighting, they can't really connect the dots because the symptoms can be diagnosed as something. Oh, you just have an autoimmune disorder. We're not going
Right.
to connect that to Botox or filler or whatever. Now, could you explain filler a bit more? Because what women are told is it's hyaluronic acid. It's just what your body makes. It's natural. So how could, besides the migration, how can that cause harm?
So there's anytime you put an injectable, like anytime you put something into your body, any foreign object, and again, filler, even if it's just going to be there for a little bit, right? Like something will dissolve, there's an immune response. And that immune response, basically, it can start to create a pocket where it almost encapsulates it. And that'll be a continuous form of, it's like microinflammation, right? Where it's just kind of continuously going. Now, there's some fillers that are permanent and then some that will dissolve. Again, it doesn't matter either, but between both of those, you're still having this micro-inflammatory immune response. So depending on the individual and their resilience and their current healthcare status, that's going to determine how much of an impact that's going to have on their body. And I think that's where there's a huge gap in our understanding of its ultimate impact. It's obviously there's people that can get filler, glabellar lines or their cheeks or whatever, and they don't have any problem. But there are people that get it and they have had issues. And one time, you know how many, I'm sure you've heard stories, but since I've been posting, I've heard a lot of stories of patients just reaching out saying, thank you. Nobody acknowledges this, where I did it once and they have never been the same. And that was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot with Botox. There's a great group on Instagram. It's for injured people from Botox mainly. And you have every story of someone having done it 10 years with no problem. And then the one time they have a crazy reaction. Or like you said, the first time, a lot of these women, it was tiny amounts, you think, and board certified injectors. So it wasn't like, oh, we can blame it on the injector or we can blame it on the amount of times or the volume. It was all across the board with these people, and they had really bad injuries because it affected the central nervous system in a lot of these people.
Right. And so again, with that, it's like, why and what is unique about that individual that unfortunately they had that bad reaction, but that's how we get better. So that's all I'm saying is that I'm not telling you to not do it, I'm not saying those doctors are bad that do it or the injectors are bad. We should be trying to figure out, same thing with vaccinations, right? This is such a touchy subject. There's millions of people that get vaccines and they're fine. And there's a lot of them that get injured. We should be studying those people that get injured and be asking why. What is it about them? So that way we can know ahead of time to at least prevent it or at least say, hey, you have this higher likelihood because you fit this pattern that we've determined. But to completely ignore it and be like, nope, that's not an issue.
Yeah, they're safe.
Which is what they do with Botox and filler. Yeah, it's like not a big deal. That's not good medicine.
It's negligence. It's negligence. Yeah. And like going back to that informed consent with the vaccines, I mean, no one's really told or shown, which I don't understand how that's legal. Here, we're going to give you this shot. Oh, could I see the list? No, you're not shown any list of this could happen. These things could happen. I mean, geez, when you get a antibiotic, you look at the list online. If you Google it yourself and you're like, oh my God, like the list of side effects is usually really crazy with even like a drug that's been around forever. And so that's obviously why they're not showing you. They don't want you to know but I don't know how it's legal for them not to. I mean, you sign a consent form, I guess in the consent that it covers them, but you never see a list of side effects.
And of course, and I'm sure you've heard this, but it's like, you're not given the full data, right? You don't get the pamphlet or the sheet that shows you you don't get any of that. You're just like, you might get a little bit of irritation, you might get some inflammation, and then you're going to go about your way.
It'll go away. Yeah.
The mechanism here of what we call engulfment, where again, you inject a little bit of filler, your body's going to flag that as, well, that's not normal. It's going to start to send cells, macrophages, to go to that area. And it depends on the person, but there's again, this is the basic science mechanism that has been identified, is that some individuals, what's called phagocytosis kind of grabs hold of it to contain it because it doesn't like it. And it's trying to protect it. It's not going to get the whole area, but it'll get pieces of it. And then that can move around, right? It's not like it just stays there.
And so now you have lumpy face. Then you have lumpy, bumpy face.
That's the potential. And unfortunately, there are some people that have had some problems with that. But you've got these almost like microplastics. You now have these cells, your body's cells, that engulfed these fillers, these compounds, and they're circulating throughout your body. And what does that do? Nobody knows. But it's logically, there's got to be.
Yeah. And the danger is if it gets into the lymph system. Is that what you were saying? So if that filler migrates, then what? Then you've got a whole host of problems.
You've got this like sticky sludge that your body may not have a way of eliminating, depending again on the individual's ability to detox and what's going on with them, how strong their immune system is. But again, these are all just questions, right? That we know that there's the mechanism, the basic science understanding of it. And it's just a free for all, though. It's just, it's okay. We're just going to allow it without any investigation.
Yeah.
No
I
long
think
term,
that
but
industry is just so filled with gaslighting. I mean, I was the patient, so I can tell you it's like, okay, bye. Here you go, bye. And if you call and say, hey, I'm having an issue. Oh no, that's fine. No, that's normal. That'll go away. Yeah, it's a very gaslighting industry. Women feel a lot of pressure to everyone else is doing it, and everybody, oh, she looks so good and her skin's so smooth. And even getting to the root of the real problem of why aren't we more confident? Why aren't we more loving of ourselves and of each other and not critiquing other women? And now men are on the bandwagon. Men are doing all the fillers and Botox too. So it's like crazy, which I don't like at all. It's a weird look when these men get over Botoxed and,
I mean, to what you just said, right?
That's okay. I don't like it.
Okay. We'll pivot from beauty now.
Wait, what were you going to say, Dr. Gonzalez?
Well, I was going to say to what you said, though, the root of it is that exactly that. Why can't we be comfortable with our own skin? And how sick have we become as a population that's the standard that we're willing to accept? And it's almost like just continuously pushing yourselves that way, right? It's like using a filter or, it's just the whole cosmetic industry, the way that it's approached. It's this kind of
always climbing, like you're not good enough. You're not good enough.
You're climbing from a ladder and it's burning from the bottom up. Like at some point it's going to catch you, right? There's only so much filler you can do, only so much Botox you can do. It starts to affect you, and people do look. I think people look strange when it's been too much over time. There's a point where it's like, wow, beautiful, like you're saying, but then it's like, whoa. And
what happened?
Yeah. So what are we doing?
Yeah, that's right. So and I know Ryan has another question, but going back to the filler, just my last question about it. So if it is hyaluronic acid, I guess it's a synthetic version. Is that why the body goes to attack it? Because they tell you, oh, your body produces it. So you are led to think, oh my God, it's just like putting like vitamins.
It's not the same as, it's not. So hyaluronic, it's not the same as hyaluronic acid that's inside our body.
Oh,
right. So this would be like, well, maybe an example would be like you have different types of, B vitamins or magnesium. We know there's different types. There's types that are literally inside our body that our body uses. And then there's types that are synthetic. So, look similar, but not quite the same.
Oh, the body's going to view it. It's not, because it's not actually natural. It's a synthetic, right? It's a synthetic.
Right. Silicone that's cross-linked with hyaluronic acid is not the same as what our body has inside of it. And so that's a problem right there. And that's not acknowledged, right? You're not told that. You're told what you just said. So, no, it's what your body has. Look, I'm a fan. I'm not negative towards peptides. That's all the rage right now. You hear so many people talking about peptides. I'm not a big fan. I'm not opposed to it. It just depends, right? Again, context. It just depends on what we're doing. But there's a lot of people out there promoting, oh, no, your body produces them. That's not true. Like,
they're synthetic, right?
It's similar, but it's not the same thing. So you cannot say that. And that's very misleading.
Are you against the GLP ones?
Again, if I've got a morbidly obese patient and they're struggling really hard, I think they're going to be great. It's good medicine to get them to where they need to be. Again, if I have a patient that if they're not doing the fundamentals, right? Like come on, there's a better way to be healthy. And if you're not doing that, not again to say that they're not trying hard, they don't have the discipline, but really what's going on there, I would want to figure that out rather than just putting them on a GLP. It's like you hear, I mean, it's true. The biggest thing with GLPs is that it changes your satiety. So you're not eating as much. My concern is if you weren't eating well before, well, then now you're just going to be eating poor, but less.
Food. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
But it's just less. So you're going to lose weight. And then if you're not mindful of maintaining muscle mass and building muscle, there is an issue with that. And so that's one of my concerns there is that we're not really building on good, solid foundations. But there's a time and a place for everything, right? I'm not going to say even medications. I'm not a fan of medication. Of course, my goal is to try to help people achieve health without a prescription, right? But there's a time and a place. It just depends on where you are as an individual.
When someone's taking GLP, can they work out the negative results of the muscle mass by, they could. Okay. So as long as they're working out, they can, okay.
Yeah.
But you
So
can
what I'm
get
saying there is,
osteoporosis, right? I mean, you see a lot of celebrities now that look like they're about to collapse when they're walking. You can tell something's not right. I'm not going to name who they are, but I've seen several that are so rail thin.
scary.
It's scary. They look like they're going to collapse because you can tell.
I'm curious to see what it's going to be like 20 years from now, because these haven't even hit the peak of where they're going to be. The market's just growing and growing and growing. And the adoption is just high, right? Because it's easy, right? You just inject yourself and then
Everybody's losing a lot of weight. Yeah.
But how it's almost like gastric bypass. When that was happening, it's okay, that was easy. People get the surgery and then they lose all this weight. And then, oh, wait, there's cancer that develops from it. There's all sorts of back end issues. Yeah, because you poor nutrition intake, you can't eat a whole lot. I work with a lot of gastric bypass patients where they had it years ago. And of course, they gained the weight back later because body adapts.
They were able to gain the weight. Yeah, that's interesting.
But they're it's like they dug themselves into a rut. And just again, like going back to skin and taking care of ourselves and being okay, getting to the root of it with diet and nutrition and how we're eating and personal fitness and all that. There's some really deeply ingrained emotions and groundwork that has to happen there. That's not, and we're just putting it over the stuff right on top of it. So I'll just inject myself with this, or I'll just take this to shut my
everybody
hunger
wants a quick
down.
fix. Yeah. Is there any filler that you would say this filler's the lesser of the evil? Because I know there is with Botox. There's healthier, more natural versions. The botulism toxin A.
I mean, non-cross-linked HA, which is temporary, right? The degradation window is days to weeks.
Oh, okay.
Semi-permanent cross-linked PLLA, I think is something. That's what it's called? These are like months to years. So they stay a little bit longer, right? So if there was, like if I was gonna say, yeah, I'd be okay with it. A non-cross-linked hyaluronic acid, yeah.
Yeah. And I'll say I don't do Botox, but for listeners, Daxxify is the only one that does not use the human blood albumin. And what's the other one that Gwyneth Paltrow promoted? Xeomin, I think, doesn't have. It uses peptides. Right. No, was that Daxxify uses peptides, and they're both a little more on the natural side. I mean, Daxxify is the only one I think that doesn't have the human blood albumin, which is something
I do want to be clear, right? That I'm not against fillers and even Botox. I'm pro understanding where you are as a person, like knowing your baseline, like knowing your health status, and what can you take.
Okay, what can your body handle? That's actually.
Yeah. And if you get an assessment and figure you're in good health and no signs of autoimmunity, inflammation levels are low, immune system looks good. All right. You're
probably
going to
do okay on it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. That seems more responsible to me than somebody that doesn't know. It's okay. That looks like a good idea. I don't like the way my face looks, and then go get this stuff done. And then
they go into major overdrive. Yeah.
So wow. That's my message when I try to speak about this. I'm not ever saying like, don't do this stuff. It's just, there's ways to see where you are.
For sure. That was very clear. Thanks for sharing that too, by the way. And speaking of sharing, can you share with our listeners what you call the 5 causes of illness?
5 causes of illness.
We're going to quiz you because we got this off your website.
Yeah.
We can help. We can give hints.
my website's dated, then I'm trying to think because it probably changes. Like what I would think now.
I'll give you a hint. The first one begins with a T. Toxins.
Okay. So
you've already pretty much mentioned all of these through this interview.
I mean, was it thoughts, traumas, toxins?
Toxins, allergens, and intolerances. And then 3 microbes, 4
Parasites,
stress,
yeast forms,
5 poor diet.
Stress. Yeah, stress was 4.
Look, of course, it's practice. It's called practice, right? Because you change. The more that you learn and as you accumulate knowledge and experience, and that's all very, very important. Most of those, yes. But like I want to say now, bacteria and organisms, there was definitely a time in my life where I was more, I want to get rid of everything.
That's me now. That's where you
and I have learned and I have observed too, that's not true. Because again, it just kind of depends. Not all bugs are bad. And I mean, just think of this logically as animals, like we've been on this planet for so long and we've adapted with these organisms. And so in terrain theory, environment theory, I agree with more than the idea that bacteria are what cause disease. It's more like the environment that those bacteria are in can lead to disease. So that's where I'm at with that. Again, going back to resilience, like how strong is my body? If I get exposed, if both of you had an illness and you coughed on me, if well, if I don't get sick, I mean, what does that say about me, right? And my resilience and my ability I can get exposed to that bug. I mean, right now, there's so many viruses and bacteria that are floating in the air that we're breathing, and we're not sick. But opportunistic organisms, like whenever the opportunity presents itself, that's whenever you get sick. A perfect combination of stress and not eating well and not sleeping well, and then boom, it gets you. So just maintaining resilience and building your body up is where and that applies to also toxins. Okay, Botox doesn't hurt somebody, but depending on the environment that Botox is in, could cause a lot of problems.
Right.
And those are the things I think we need to be thinking about.
Yeah.
When it comes
that's really important and very helpful information because you're not saying no to these things. You're just saying be educated. Are you a believer in PRP, microneedling, things that you can do to stimulate your own collagen versus just injecting?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many regenerative technologies that are available and on the horizon. Earlier I said exposome, and I think you thought I said exosomes.
Yeah, right.
Exosomes are certainly that's part of that as far as injectables that help to heal. I recommend PRP quite a bit. I think getting your blood context matters here. So a 40-year-old getting PRP compared to a 20-year-old, completely different, right? Because that 20-year-old has more. Chances are they have more vital cells, stem cells. Stem cell therapy, right now it's 50-50. It's like it's expensive and some people can get it and it's great. Some people get it and doesn't do anything. That's been my experience with patients that I've referred out for it. Why? Well, I've certainly seen a pattern where the healthier the person is,
all these things are going to work better. Yeah.
Yeah. You hear about athletes, right? And they get stem cells and it's great. Oh, so-and-so got it and it's great. But my grandmother's not going to benefit like that athlete because it's a completely different situation, right? Her stem cells, her body's ability to take those stem cells are very different. So again, you got to think about that. And before you get those procedures, I would definitely take some time to build your health up and to make your investment worthwhile.
Such a good way to end this show. That's fantastic. And I think that would go for if you're getting a surgery or anything that's going to put your body through stress. Make sure you're at your peak health and all those wonderful things that Dr. Daniel has shared with us today. So thank you so much for being with us. Listeners, Dr. Daniel offers free consultations where he can answer any question you might have about your health or how to reach your goals using personalized health, wellness, and fitness plans based on your health test data and goals. Head over to drdaniel.com to learn more.
And as always, friends, you can find the links in the show notes at healthyhomehacks.com. We appreciate you, so be sure to leave a review or a rating. 5 stars are always appreciated. And if you're not already subscribed, consider this your friendly reminder. Bye, everyone, and thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks Dr. Daniel.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
This episode of the Healthy Home Hacks podcast has ended, but be sure to subscribe for more healthy living strategies and tactics to help you create the healthy home you've always dreamed of. And don't forget to rate and review so we can continue to bring you the best content. See you on the next episode.